So today, just over 60 years after the Brown versus Board of Education, we still find many schools grappling with how to combat long-standing racial inequalities in our nation's school system, largely based on residential patterns and differences in resources between schools in wealthier and economically disadvantaged districts across the country. Today, just 40 years after private and non-sectarian schools were mandated to admit students of color, we are still in a place where we have to explain why educational equity matters. Racial, ethnic, and class-based disparities in college access, enrollment, and completion continue to persist across the country. If we don't intentionally work to eliminate disparities in educational outcomes of students from underserved and underrepresented populations, our country will not be able to maintain a skilled workforce or grow long-term per capita income and state revenues. Demographic shifts in nearly every state indicate that the traditional college-going populations are increasingly likely to be non-white. We must help diverse populations enter and succeed in post-secondary education, not just to ensure economic growth, but because the very composition of the nation and our state is changing. As the land of the free and the home of the brave, we also have an implicit moral imperative to be brave and deliberately address issues of equity related to student success and outcomes. Students of color will soon form the majority of the nation's college-eligible learners, and their fortunes will shape, for better or worse, America's economic and global future. The persistent achievement gap between our growing populations of communities of color, immigrants, migrants, and low-income rural students, and more affluent white students threaten our economic competitiveness and our capacity to innovate. As our diversity grows and our ability to meet the needs of these students remains stagnant or decline, we limit the opportunity of everyone in our state, in our nation. In many ways, Oklahoma's future social and economic outlook is dependent upon how well post-secondary institutions adapt to the changing demography and educate and support these populations. And we here at TCC want to be part of the national movement focused on being intentional and addressing our equity gaps.